What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Today, what I want to get into is two veterans that I think the New York Jets need to cut their losses with and just bench. Unfortunately, through their first 4 games of the year, both of these guys look like either they are not healthy or they have severely fallen off. And it stinks. I hate that when veterans, and both these guys had and have had really good NFL careers, but unfortunately, when it goes, sometimes it goes quickly, and that's kind of what it feels like for both of these guys. And I wanted to talk about each one, why I think each one deserves to be benched, and who should come in and get those reps. So the first guy we'll talk about, we'll go offense first, defense second. The first one is Dalvin Cook, who has really struggled through the first 4 games of the season. Here's a couple of really tough metrics for Dalvin Cook. He's the NFL's 4th worst running back in rush yards over expected. So he's not giving you any extra juice, unfortunately. 4th worst running back in success rate and dead last in yards per attempt. 2.5 yards a carry is unfortunately not going to cut it. And it's a big enough sample size at this point. It's not like it was, oh my God, he just had one bad game. It's 4. He's had 4 of these games in a row. The Jets' EPA per play with Breece Hall versus Dalvin Cook. Breece Hall, 0.04, which would be 10th best in the league. EPA per play with Dalvin Cook, minus 0.45, would rank 32nd by a long shot. He is significantly hurting the Jets when he is on the field. Like, it's not just he's not being effective. He is actively hurting them when he is on the field. And this is finally this past week we saw Michael Carter, at least in a snap count perspective. He might not have got all the rushes. He only had 1 rush for 9 yards, which again is obviously more efficient than what we saw from Dalvin in this game. But for the first time this season, his snap count went higher than what Dalvin Cook's is. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come. I know Michael Carter had the drop on the pass, which was not good. It would have picked up a first down. But you drafted a running back who is extremely explosive out of Pittsburgh this year on day 3. And I don't know, eventually you got to see this guy get on the field, because he has significantly more juice than what Dalvin Cook has showed so far this year. And Dalvin Cook always in his career is a volume rusher. He needs a ton of carries to get going, and he's getting five carries in these games, and he's having a hard time to get going. He's slow to the hole. He doesn't really have that explosiveness anymore. He's running too patient, and I get it. People are patient runners. You're kind of waiting for the hole to open up and then you hit it, but he doesn't have that speed and that explosiveness that he had, earlier on in his career. And it's sad. It happens with running backs quickly sometimes. And, there's a reason why the Minnesota Vikings were moving on. The underlying numbers last year weren't great. I know he went over 1,000 yards, but the underlying numbers were showing that there were signs of decline with Dalvin Cook. It just hasn't been good. You have 2 other running backs on this roster who are younger and significantly more explosive, and I think it's time to make the change. The second guy is Carl Lawson, who was big money free agent signing after the 2020 season, gets hurt in 2021, comes back last year and was relatively productive. Was he an absolute star? No, he wasn't a star, but he was a solid pass rusher. Misses a lot of time in training camp, was really banged up. It looked like, maybe he'll start the year on IR. He doesn't, but he's a healthy scratch in week 1, giving him a little extra ramp-up period before the Dallas game in week 2. Comes back in for the Dallas games. He's played 3 games so far this year. He has 1 pressure on 28 pass rush snaps, and honestly is not, on more often than not, is a non-factor in pass rushing situations. And a 1.9 pressure percentage is the worst on the team, and he has a 3.7 win percentage. It's not good enough. It's not efficient enough when you have other guys on this roster who could eat those reps. We're looking for ways to get Bryce Huff on the football field more often. Here you go. This is your opportunity. For Will McDonald, who's a first-round pick, and Bryce Huff, Like, you're looking, oh, how can we possibly get these guys on the field enough? Well, here you go. Carl Lawson, the Jets' best game defensively so far this year has been the one where Carl Lawson didn't play in week 1. And it hurts to say that because I was a big fan of Carl Lawson, and I still consider myself a Carl Lawson fan. It's just he does not look himself. I don't know if he needs to go on IR and rest for 4 weeks and try it again, or you cut him or whatever, or just, healthy scratch him. But he's not getting it done. And I get it. You can't have these, preferences because a guy's a veteran or they're making X amount of money. And both Dalvin Cook and Carl Lawson are making a pretty hefty chunk of change. So I understand why their leash is a little bit longer, but your backs are against the wall. You're 1-3. You have younger guys on this roster who could fill the role. It's not like you don't have anybody who you can put in that spot. For Dalvin, you have 2 other backs on the roster who you could potentially try out there. One in year 3, and one as a rookie who all he did in the preseason was have explosive run after explosive run. And Carl Lawson, same thing. You had Will McDonald, who you took in the first round, 15th overall. Showed off the spin move, showed off the speed in the preseason. Now, I know he hasn't done much through the first 4 weeks of the year, but, he's a first-round pick. And Bryce Huff, again, we are begging for ways to find more time for Bryce Huff. Robert Saleh even has mentioned that he's improved in the run game this year, which is one of his biggest detractors to playing him more than 25% of the snaps or whatever it's been that he normally gets. He finally got a significant bump up in snaps in the Kansas City Chiefs game. He had 7 pressures and he was all over the field and making plays. Like, they have better options, and that's kind of the point here as well. It stinks. It sucks that it has to come to this. And again, I don't want to do negative videos. I really don't. But when you have guys who are struggling to this level and are that, unfortunately, again, unproductive, eventually you got to make a move. You got to try something different. And for both these guys, I think it's time. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Please make sure to give a like, subscribe. I will appreciate it. Love all the support. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.